Welcome to Merchman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, hear another soft red winter wheat update from Ben and Lynn. We've got some Millie 8 and brand new Peyton 2 yield results. Ben shows a few climate field view maps. And Lynn shares a local PowerCore Enlist corn update and how nutrients affect the plant.
Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Welcome to Mershman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Ben and Lynn, and I believe, Ben, you're going to talk a little bit about wheat this morning.
Yeah, we got some more updates on growers that are super excited and they want to share their story or share their success with some of the Mershman hyper early wheat lines that have been coming out. So the first one comes from Eastern Illinois. We had 480 acres of Millie and 480 acres in a combination of the brand new Peyton and the Millie 8. And the Millie was planted a little bit too thick. I was talking to the sales agronomist over there, and they had a few down spots, so the Millie was kind of pulling it back a little bit. But the average of this 480 field went 134 bushel an acre.
480 acres?
Yes, sorry, 480 acres went 134 bushel per acre.
Holy mackerel. I mean, wasn't that many years ago, 70 bushel wheat was pretty darn good wheat.
Yeah, and the really impressive part is coming at this point. The Peyton in places was running 160 to 180 bushel per acre.
Unbelievable.
Stayed pretty consistent in the 145 and 155. So.
And they're planting double crop.
So, super excited customer coming out of the hyper early program there. We had some stuff out of Brunswick, Missouri, and they've been pretty dry to finish their wheat crop off. Average 95 bushel an acre, 62.5 pound test weight. The grower was giving me and Joe crap that I weighed too much because he wasn't expecting the 62.5 pound test weight. So fun stories.
You can throw some bushels in a trailer when you have test weight like that.
Also have another one from Bloomington, Illinois. We had 110 acres of the Binty 12, so that would be our ultra early that we have just some carryover bags of that left for this year. And at 138 bushel an acre and a 63.5 pound test weight, I think the carryover bags that we have are going to go pretty quick. So unbelievable yields. I said it last weekend. I don't want to harp on it too much, but I think these ultra and hyper earlies, if you take care of them, I don't think you're leaving very much on the table.
No, that's the whole thing. I think if you manage the disease with fungicide and you split your nitrogen and use that sulfur that we've been harping on, I think the potential on wheat is 100 bushel wheat is reality now.
Right.
And I got one from a grower actually planted untreated Millie, and it was going 102 in the field and almost 63 pound test weight as well. So if that just shows you, the power of what the genetics behind these ultra early, hyper early wheat have, even untreated, is running over 100 to our starting line. On top of that, and hypothetically, pretty similar dirt, pretty good dirt up there. We're gaining another 20-30 bushel on the treated side. So overall, we have a great platform from the genetic standpoint. And then we're able to compound that with a great seed treatment as well. So,
talk just a little bit why this customer has to have untreated wheat.
Yeah. So in this particular area, there's a very high use of organic agriculture up there. So we're able to fit in those transition acres. Those folks are looking for our early wheat option because they definitely want to twofold. I think chicken feed is. They're using wheat for the chicken feed, and then they're looking for ways to transition and still make money. Oats was kind of their way to do that, and unfortunately, it doesn't take a lot of oats now to saturate a market. So this hyper early wheat is able to fit for them to be able to have a crop growing on a field for weed control, and then also to establish a double crop now and make more money on that acre. So definitely a kind of a fun little niche we found up in that neck of the woods, and it's gaining traction as we can crank out 100 plus bushel wheat on chicken manure in the fall and kind of plant it and hope for the best after that. Really, I mean that's the management technique when it comes to those acres.
Yep. Nope. It's a cool spot, and we continue to see wheat sales increase in those areas. One of the other things that I got a picture sent to me beginning of this week, we have areas in our sales footprint predominantly kind of south central Iowa going up into the Des Moines area. And then I know we have spots over in western Illinois that caught 5+ inches of rain. And I wanted to throw a picture up of what 5+ inches of rain can do to soybeans. The dealer sent me a picture. He's like, "You don't think this is spider mite damage, do you?" And not knowing that where this field was at, how much rain they got, because it was super spotty or hyper localized where they got that rain. I said, "Man, that sure doesn't look like it to me. It sure looks like nitrogen or sulfur deficiency in soybeans." And he said, "Well, yeah, I'd like for this field to dry out." And I asked how much rain it got, 5+ inches, and this is just telltale nitrogen deficiency. The field is saturated. The bacteria have gone anaerobic, which means there's a lack of oxygen in the soil, and those bradyrhizobia don't have the ability to fix nitrogen when there's no oxygen there. So.
And it's about a 30-day turnaround to regenerate those rhizobia bacteria to get the nitrogen going again. So it's going to stunt the beans a little bit.
Yep, it's going to take them a little bit to get back out of that. So hopefully there's not too many acres or fields that look like this, but we see this every year. Last year it was pretty localized, the stuff in the lower lying areas where water couldn't get away. We had a pretty wet go of it last year. We had some yellow beans, and Joe's just about right. It takes about 30 a day. Some guys will throw nitrogen out there. Some guys will try to perk these beans back up. Everything that we found or heard when studies are done is the nitrogen is ready to go by the time the nodules are ready to refix.
Yeah, Sean Cooley, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sean Cooley with the University of Wisconsin did a study, and basically what he found is there's no amount of nitrogen that you can throw out there to really kind of snap these things back out of it. Really, Mother Nature has to take hold. So the best thing in these guys' case is sunlight and heat, and get stuff mineralizing and be able to build that back up.
Yep. I don't know if a foliar application of some NKBS or something like that would potentially perk these back up or speed it back up, but the most economical way is just to leave them, go on vacation, see what happens.
Yep.
Improve drainage, make sure your calcium levels are right so that the water can get away as fast as possible.
I did see today that the crop ratings for corn are the highest since 2018. Whereas our crop today, we have not had a better looking corn crop at the end of June since 2018. So there are some good spots and there are some tough spots. And I know the folks in Southern Illinois are really still struggling to get a crop. Well, they're doing replant, double crop, and first plant all in the same time. So we know there's some really good spots, but we also know there's some really tough spots. So it's not much fun.
No, there's definitely variability out there. Next thing that I wanted to throw up, I had a grower share these with me just on happenstance. I happen to have some access to their climate field view, and I was just rolling through stuff as I get my emails from the vegetative index maps that they send out. And I'm like, man, there's a definitely distinct line where that is at. And I'm pretty sure that's about where the Mershman split with the Pioneer is at in that field. So we could throw two of these pictures up. I'm not dogging, or it's not a perfect scenario because there's been terraces and tiling done where the Pioneer product is at. But it is interesting to see that there's almost a definite line. And I'm not giving all of this credit to the 2512C30. There is a difference. We are hopper throttle with ether treated, planter box treatment on our seed, and the Pioneer does not have that. But I just really like the consistency, the health of the corn crop. It's either greener, fuller, or a combination of both that causes these NDVI maps to put darker green colors in them. So
Ben, it could be just the structure of that 2512 corn. It's got that massive wide leaf, and so you're showing more reflection in too. But it also is picking up more sunlight too.
Right, and when you look at that, the cool part about this split is, and this is going to be a really good test, because Pioneer 1027 has that same wide leaf that the 2512 has on it. And this is going to be a good test, and I'm super stoked about it. But yes, that there is a comparison there. And when me and the grower were chatting about it, he's like, well, if you think that one's good, there's another one over here, and it's a 2411C30 with hopper throttle against a 5982 decal product, and you can see the the green to the line as well. And I would say that probably the decal may have a little bit of a disadvantage because of the narrower leaf, a more upright leaf structure. It seems like the Bayer genetics have a tendency to do that. You're dealing with a higher population, more dense plant canopy. Most of those products, when you're on really productive ground, they want you to be in that 38.5 for population. We're pretty comfortable in the 34s and even lower than that. But if it's showing up on the NDVI map, we are seeing consistently more green, less yellows. We should have a healthier plant. Hopefully it equates to yield. I think it's going to in this scenario, but we will leave it to be determined. But I wanted to show our growers that I really have a lot of faith in this hopper throttle. Listening to Dr. Fred Below talk, when he talks about starter, which in a sense, the Meristem hopper throttle corn planter box pail is kind of like a starter. It's got a lot of the same components for phosphorus availability, zinc, and other microbial products that help induce plant root growth and shoot and stem elongation.
And then coupled with our starting line seed treatment,
Yep.
which has the biologicals and the nematicides and everything in there, and fungicides, and they're complementing each other.
Absolutely. And where I was getting is starter is not finisher, is what Dr. Fred Below says. And I think that's just such a great thing to take home, because most of the times you see visual responses to starter, but you may not see the yield at the end of the year. Well, starter is not finisher. You still have to continue to take care of that crop, whether that be fungicide, whether that be foliar products, whether that be biostimulants with your sprayer, making sure you've got side dressing right, making sure you have sulfur and nitrogen and boron and all the mobile nutrients in the soil, make sure that those are taken care of, because once you have a bigger, darker corn plant, it needs to be fed, because you're set up for super high yield potential at this point. Now we got to take it home. So.
Yep. Speaking of that, we're hitting tassel time here in southeast Iowa, and on Saturday I sent you guys a picture. You can go out and shuck that ear leaf and find the little ear. On the particular one, 1 day planting difference. You can distinguish the ear, but you couldn't quite make out the rows around. But the one planted just a few days before was able to pick out 18 around. So from that standpoint, when we were in that V5 to V6 range, we had really good conditions. Is 18 around something I'm excited for? Absolutely, because I just went and picked one, just completely random. So no one on that particular field did not have the high management done to it like the next field. If the low management is 18, I'm hoping we're in the 20 to 22s, finding those opportunities in the high management. So,
just how long was that ear that you showed? You sent a picture of it.
If it was 3/4 of an inch, I would be shocked. It's to be found out there, and I'd highly encourage anybody to go do that if you're interested in kind of figuring out. I guess my reason was trying to figure out where the ear leaf's at, and trying to determine how we're setting that from a disease standpoint, and to be honest, morbid curiosity. I was wanting to know if we could see.
Look at that embryo. Right?
Yep. See where we're at. But yeah, I would say now, for the most part, anybody that planted in April, you could probably go out right now. A week later, almost anything that would be, and that's going to be 108 to 115 day. You probably should be able to make some determinations there. You definitely have to mind your P's and Q's when you're peeling that back, but it's a great time to check out the opportunity that we have with the rows around. Like we said, we have a lot to be gained here. Pollination obviously is a key period that we still have to go through, and then obviously the fill period as well. But man, the Mershman corn is set up for huge potential.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Which brings me to that. We had mentioned, went over to Brant last week, and one of the last things I want to just kind of highlight from that I thought was super interesting when talking about corn with the macronutrients, how it's super important. One thing that was discussed and I thought was extremely interesting. Right now we're entering a period where most guys are going to start the fungicide application here in southeast Iowa. We're in that VT time frame. Probably by this weekend, almost every corn that was planted in the month of April is going to be at VT. So we have a great period or a great trip if you're going to make the fungicide application to throw the NKBS products in with your fungicide. And what I thought was interesting was corn it's not really designed to uptake macronutrients through the leaf. And you're going to be like, all right, that makes sense. Then why do we do it? But when we were talking with the folks at Brandt, what I thought was super interesting was we put that on there, and it almost acts like it primes the pump for the plant to say, I have an appetite for NKBS. So then what that triggers that plant to do is to actually uptake more, K in the soil, and we're able to jumpstart that plant from from that standpoint by using those foliar products. So I thought that was a really interesting mechanism on, we talk about how we put that on, but why is it important? So on, going out on this fungicide time and hitting it with that is extremely important. When we compare that with, or pair that with, moly, boron, zinc, manganese, we just really get a great opportunity for that plant to go into scavenger mode and to uptake that. And anything that we do to decrease stress, increase efficiency, can really add to that top line and protecting that yield. Because really, like I said, the yield is set right now. What we're doing now is going into protection. We want that plant to not have a bad day, be able to go through pollination with no stress, go through grain fill with no stress, and these products, like I said, the most interesting part is the why. I guess for my case is like, we know it works. We've seen it works. We've seen anecdotal. We've seen scientific. But this is the reason why. And really, it just triggers that natural plant response to have an appetite and want to increase that uptake.
And a little bit more to that is it's as much about source to sink and not relocating potassium, because one of the things that's unique about the NKBS is it's got a heavy load of potassium. That you're not trying to take the potassium because it's mobile in the plant. You're not taking it from a leaf that may be generating assimilates, and it's a really inefficient way to pull potassium from the leaf and move it to a different sink where that plant needs it. It is more effective for that plant to pull it back up from the ground or from the soil, because that's the easiest way. That's the least yield penalty or yield penalizing way, is by putting enough potassium on that leaf so that it says, okay, I'm fine, I don't need to be pulling that from a lower leaf tissue down below. Same thing can be said, we kind of talked about it with boron, and how boron will leave cell walls to go to the sink of the ear or the tassel. If you just have enough in a foliar application, it doesn't cause that reassimilation of those nutrients. So that is how it works, because you're not putting more than a few pounds of anything on. You're literally just putting enough on to maintain the structure that is currently happening in that leaf, the chemical structure, the xylem, phloem, the movement of nutrients. You're putting enough on to tell that plant, hey, I'm good. Go down to the roots, get the rest for the new treatment, because you don't have to pull from lower leaves.
Yep. So. Yeah, absolutely. And what they proved that out with, they basically said after the application, if you go back and take tissues samples above where the actual application, if you went out and spray painted your leaf before you had the application, you go out and look, the tests come back extremely positive, and that's the reason why. To magnitudes of multiples.
Yes,
so
correct. It's not just like a 10% increase, it's a multiple higher increase. I think on boron it was like 8 times the amount of boron they found in the upper leaves compared to an untreated check, and the same thing with potassium. I don't think it was an 8 or a 10-fold increase, but it was a multiple higher than 1 or 2 getting the potassium where it needs to be. And it's all about keeping the plant calm, keeping the nutrients where they belong, pulling nutrients up out of the soil.
Absolutely. But that is to your point on why is this important right there. We're set up, that plant needs finished. This is what we need to do to help finish that plant, protect that yield, and have the highest yield possible.
Yep. It's always fun getting to listen to people that are way smarter than us, and those guys over there are way smarter than us.
I've said it before, and I told Dr. Lohman and Dr. Winans that for me it has to be an annual trip, just because they spit stuff out nonchalantly that you're like, whoa, time out. Like, what'd you say there? And you just pick up one or two things, and hopefully, you know, we're regurgitating this to our growers. Are able to benefit from this as well. But yeah, it's one of those that we have so much untapped potential when it comes to managing a crop, whether that be wheat, corn, soybean. You know, some of those guys that are high yielding, you know, out in the East Coast, they kind of have to do this because their soils and their lack of CECs, they have to be able to do this. We get a little bit of I wouldn't say grace, but we have some flexibility. But at the end of the day, we can still influence yield very, very astutely and without really, I mean, the things that they're doing, and we said it last week, once again, we are not a guy with a sprayer and a little bit of time can do this whole thing. And you and I talked yesterday, we still think that there's another kind of bucket that they haven't even gone down into, and to carry a 300 bushel plot average across the, you know, say if it's half and half or 3/4, you know, 100 and 200 acres of corn, yet they're zero trials and whatnot. Yeah, they're going to have 340 bushel corn upside potential, and we still think there's another bucket that they're going to be going after when doing some of their trial data. So yeah, there could be some really exciting things coming down the pipeline with corn. We just have to be on the front edge of that.
Yep. Yeah. So the last thing that I wanted to cover is we officially received in last week our 2026 product guide. Me and Dylan were doing some work, getting ready to kick the year off, I suppose, and we were making some recordings, and I just get excited, and it could be nerdy, it could be weird of me, but like when we were going through the recordings, like talking about, oh yeah, you know, I forgot I didn't forget, but I'm really excited about this new 2.4 that we have coming in the lineup. I'm really excited that we have a 102-day option. And on the corn side, you know, the wheat, I think we've done the best job that we ever have on wheat on positioning these new hyper earlies and figuring out where they fit and things of that nature. But
to let the viewer behind the scenes, I mean, really why I guess you could say we could quote unquote forget is this happened back, what, January?
Oh, yeah.
December, January, when most of this went down. So from our perspective, there's been kind of 6 months we get through, we kind of switch back to the current lineup as we're planting, but you know, now we're starting to kind of get back in and the lack of better terms, the study guide's back out, remembering why all these are important and why they're making it in the lineup. And yeah, I 100% agree. When you start looking at the diversity that we have, but also maintaining what makes Mershman seeds and the soybean, specifically the soybean lineup, so impactful is we just keep raising the bar on, you know, the top end yield, but we're also raising the bar on the bottom end yield too.
Yep.
In addition to chitosan into our seed treatment this past year, we're just going to start seeing the benefit of it, but we're really going to start talking about it for next year because it was a late add-in. If you remember, we made that decision literally days before we started treating soybeans last fall. And you know, and my takeaway, you know, everybody think, oh my gosh, you know, I'm still planting yet, I'm still working with my crop. The reality of it is, you farmers are going faster. You're going faster and faster and faster. In other words, you want to plant April 1st if you could. And so consequently, that your seed decision and all your planning, you got to speed it up 30, maybe even 50 days earlier than what you've normally been doing in the past 10 years for us to keep up with you, because the logistics to get everything shipped and everything in place, and we have over 800, almost 800 and some SKUs in soybeans alone that we manage. So we're going to start earlier. We're going to ask you to start earlier.
Yeah. No, there's hit the nail on the head both directions there, because I'm like, oh yeah, we do have this brand new 3.6 Peking option. That's going to be super fun to get out there in Missouri and Southern Illinois where all the cyst pressure is high. So, yep, product guide 2026. It's going to be coming to you soon. Yeah, we'll have the mailer that we normally do, and
it's scheduled to go out the first week of August. We got to get our dealers up to speed in July, and then salespeople, dealers, and then coming to you.
Yep, absolutely.
That starts in a week and a half.
That's right.
So anyhow, good information. Today I'm not really actually going to do a joke, but I'm really going to do a little bit about, you know, kind of life, you know, in general, and it's called the butterfly story. The struggle is not only real, but needed. And, you know, we all been through struggles, and you know, at the time it's very painful, but at the end, it usually turns out good. And I have to tip my hat to Jordan Van Trump, the Ag Swag folks. They make premium items for the ag industry out of Kansas City. He published that in his email this past week, and I thought I'd pass along. The story starts with a person who was out on a walk and saw a butterfly trying to burst out of its cocoon. The person wanted to see the transformation of the caterpillar turning into a butterfly. So the person sat and watched for a long time. As the butterfly fought to get out of its cocoon, the butterfly spent those hours struggling to push its body through a small hole before stopping without much, if any, progress. After a while, the person watching assumed the butterfly could not get any further because the hole was too small. The person wanted the butterfly to make it out, so they decided to help. With best intention, the person carefully, precisionally tore the rest of the cocoon open and off. Once they cut the cocoon, the butterfly emerged without any more of a challenge. However, the person quickly noticed that the butterfly did not look like it was supposed to. The butterfly's body was swollen and its wings were small and shriveled. At first, the person didn't think that was any big issue, and they continued to watch, expecting the transformation. The person waited for the butterfly to fly away, but it never happened. Instead, the butterfly was forced to crawl around on the ground with tiny wings, unable to fly. Between the underdeveloped wings and the butterfly's swollen body, it would never be able to live a fulfilling life free to fly. But why couldn't the butterfly fly? While cutting the cocoon and helping the butterfly emerge might have seemed like a good idea, it wasn't. The butterfly's short life would be spent on the ground rather than flying around like it was supposed to. When this situation happens, it's because the butterfly doesn't receive the hardship and the resistance it needs to grow and fully develop. When a butterfly works on squeezing its way out through the tiny opening, it's doing what it needs to do. The restriction forces the fluid from the body into its wings, making them grow as it emerges. However, they must work their way out of the cocoon for their wings to develop. Additionally, a butterfly must eat its way through the cocoon to become strong enough to come out whole and strong. When the man thought he was helping by cutting the cocoon, he did the opposite. He prevented the transformation and the butterfly's chance to fly freely. This story reminds you that every struggle makes us stronger, every hardship makes us better, a better version of ourselves. While no one wants to experience difficulty, it is necessary for growth and development. Think of all the ways you can apply this to your life. The story helps us recognize that our best intentions may not be what our loved ones always need. Instead, it can at times hold them back and cause more problems. Even when you can step in and make things easier, you must use restraint from stunting their growth and development. It might be hard to sit back and watch, but it will be worth it in the long term. It will help them make beneficial changes that last throughout their life. When you take the easy path or step in to help someone else, it only leads to more challenging life. It leads to more incredible hardships later on that you and your loved one probably isn't prepared or developed the tools to handle. Everyone must experience hardship to make essential and beneficial life changes. Remember, hardships help us grow and develop into a better version of ourselves. While struggling isn't a good time for anyone, and watching someone struggle is also difficult, we have to remind ourselves that the moments of hardships and obstacles are often the times that change a life for the better. So, for those of you that are struggling out there, it's going to be difficult, but in the long term, it's going to be better. And I remember going through the 80s, and I'm always passing these lessons on to these two on my left about what we went through and how it made us better. And I think it's true in life. So with that, thank you for watching. We appreciate your business, and we'll see you next week.